Eire is the Irish or Gaelic word for Ireland. So take it easy, or as we say in Gaelic, lig the ski, and listen to all things concerning the paranormal in Ireland and indeed beyond. Welcome to Scary Eire. This episode of Scary Eire, Season 3, Episode 1, is dedicated in its entirety to the memory of PJ Carlo, paranormal investigator.
All views are Mark Manning's own, but you can express them too if you want to be right about everything like he is.
And our readers are Sarah Campbell, broadcaster, voice actor and event host, and you've just heard her lovely dulcet tones. And David McGlynn, aka the Squire, who really is the master of the universe. Aha, there you are. Who would believe that we are now into Season 3 of Scary Eire Paranormal? And it's you guys that have made it happen. All your support. And remember, if you would like to share any of your paranormal investigations, findings, stories with us, get in touch, paranormalireland@protonmail.com. Shortly, you will be hearing a full interview with PJ Kavanagh, that most accomplished paranormal investigator operating generally within the Galway region. We'll be listening to his tales of daring do and indeed some of his famous, and they are famous if not infamous, EVPs as well. But sure, if you want to track around the west of Ireland, this is the place for you, so do stay tuned. Now, not to confuse you, but PJ will also be paying tribute to another PJ. Unfortunately, we lost PJ paranormal investigator from Carlo, around October of last year, and I was only speaking to him for the first time, and indeed the first time I would have hoped of many occasions, in August of last year. He left such an impression on me. So our condolences go out to Anne, his wife, and his family and friends, and all those paranormal investigators that knew and loved him. And indeed, we will hear a little contribution from the man himself. Anne kindly gave me permission to use some of the recordings that I hadn't used but was planning to with PJ, so you'll be hearing a great one, a tale of a mad night in Kilkenny where things just went from bad to worse, really, paranormal-wise. And so, my friends, to a new section of the show, which we will call Random, Anonymous, Strange but True. Listen on, then continue to listen for that really in-depth interview with PJ Kavanagh of Paranormal Awakenings Ireland.
Mark Manning.
This one has kind of haunted me for the past few years, and if my husband is listening to this, he'll know it is me. A few years ago, we were abroad on a hiking holiday and driving in a mountainous region with steep cliffs. We pulled over into a small inlay for a short break to eat something, and then we took back off, and my husband wasn't thinking properly, and in fairness, he was exhausted from driving for hours, and he accidentally pulled out on the wrong side of the road as he started driving. A few metres ahead was a corner. On the other side, sharp cliff drop with no barrier. A car came flying around the corner and honestly centimetres away from crashing into us, which would have caused either us to fly off the edge of the cliff or could have killed the other driver. It all happened in a flash. We swerved and nearly went over the cliff. The other car careered around the back up to the road, and my husband managed to get us back onto the road in a matter of seconds. I had a full-blown panic attack. We were both shaking and crying, and all I can remember was hearing someone screaming for ages, and I realised it was me. It was the closest I have ever been seconds from death or killing another person. We drove in silence for an hour, shaking until we got to our hotel. So the creepier and unnerving thing that happened to us was when we eventually sat down at the hotel that night. My husband pulled out his phone, and it was like it had completely reset. The screensaver he had of us was gone, and it was changed into a generic black screen, which had never happened before and never happened since. Then, when we flew home a week later, our new enough clock on the wall, which had only a new battery in it a few weeks previous, it had stopped. And it was pretty much exactly the same time the near crash happened. As soon as my husband took the clock down to fix it, it started working all by itself again. So the battery wasn't broken, and the clock never stopped by itself since. I can never get it out of my head that we actually died that day in some parallel universe and just restarted into this one.
When I was about 10 or 11, I randomly woke up one morning at about 2 a.m. I rolled over and saw a man glowing white, kneeling beside my bed, praying, with rosary beads running through his fingers. I froze in shock, and once I gathered myself, I took off and ran down to my parents' room. I told them what had happened, but was met with the usual, "Go back to bed, ghosts aren't real." The house phone ringing woke me up at 7 a.m, and I was at the bottom of my parents' bed. My dad answered, and after a couple of seconds he said, "I'll take this downstairs." So I sneaked off behind him and overheard them talking. I couldn't make out too much, but he came back upstairs and said, "Son, your Uncle Tony died last night. Come on and I'll show you some photographs of him, as you'd never met him." And wouldn't you know, it was my Uncle Tony kneeling beside my bed a few hours earlier. He had died peacefully in his sleep.
Hi Mark, I was listening to your most recent episode of Scary Eire and wanted to share my own story with you. You're welcome to share it. I am 57 years young and have never been a believer in the paranormal, but my wife has always been a huge fan of shows like Most Haunted and Ghost Adventures, and I came across a team doing these ghost nights here in Cove, County Cork, at the old Convent of Mercy. The team is called the Supernatural Society and is run by Matthew Clark, but if you don't know of them, it might be worth having them on, and they can back up my story. Anyway, we went with them to this convent, and to be honest, the first 2 hours were exactly as I expected, full of past stories, but nothing actually happening to back it up. And in truth, I was thinking it was going to be a very long night. However, we moved into a big, old chapel, and I don't know how to explain it, but the atmosphere in that room was totally different, and you could cut the tension with a knife. I can't really explain it, but it's like when you walk into a room where two people have been having a fight, and although they stopped when you came into the room, you can just tell and feel that something is off. Anyway, we sat down in here and I could tell that both my wife and one of the other guests were feeling very off and uncomfortable. And I think it's fair to say that if we did not have the investigators from the team with us, we would have left the room. They started calling out for a bishop that apparently haunts the area. And then we all heard what sounded like kids laughing and running off on the balcony area above us. This was truly unbelievable, and to the paranormal team's credit, they allowed us to go and check the area instantly to prove they had nothing to do with it, etc. The sounds led us to a room that was used as a laundry that kids were forced to work in, and in there I felt can only be described as a hand touching me on the back. It was ice cold, absolutely freezing, and the cold sensation on my skin did not go away until literally 12 hours later. All the hairs on that part of my back were standing on end for literally all those hours, and it felt almost like I had been hit by some bolt of electricity or something. Myself and my wife left instantly, and it was just getting too much for us. And it's not something I would like to be involved in again. It was genuinely frightening. But what I can say is it has totally changed my opinion on all this. And I thought you might be interested to hear my story. Well, I bet that got your attention, as I'm sure will this. But even better still, let's get PJ Kavanagh of Paranormal Awakenings Ireland on the phone. Or as we say in Gaelic, the Gahan. PJ Kavanagh from Paranormal Awakenings Ireland, how are you?
I'm not so bad, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm doing even better than you because I've managed to bag you, and I'll tell you why. To me, you're a guy who likes being in the background, and this is only because I've got no vibes but reverent ones from anyone who's been associated with you. And when I listen to EVPs as well, you are the kind of macho man, right, who calls out the spirits, if you like. And anybody that knows you, kind of, it's like he's the one he's the strength. You're a strong guy. Are you a stubborn guy?
Well, it might be a bit stubborn, but not at all strong at all, no. No, I'm only about 5'7", just a little guy.
Oh, well, you're only an inch smaller than me then. Right, I'll tell you what, I have some EVPs. I remember them from memory, and I just want your views on them. For those who don't know, electronic voice phenomena is EVP, i.e., fragments of audio that are caught during investigations, not often in real time. It's only when they listen to the recordings afterwards, right? The one that struck with me, and I have to say gets the gold medal on all the EVPs I listen to, is the Monk's Hut in Cong.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I remember very, very well. I can actually hear it in my mind now, just talking about it. I can actually hear it.
Okay, first of all, describe the Monk's fishing hole in Cong. Where are we talking about?
Well, most people know where Cong is. It's roughly about 20 miles outside of Galway, and it's on the border of Galway and Mayo, but Cong is actually inside the border of Mayo. It's an old abbey. The last High King of Ireland was reputed to have been buried there at one stage, but then he was taken up and reinterred in Clonmacnoise, I think it is now. And the monks used to do their own fishing for food, They had this little hut going across the river there with a hole in the floor where they would drop down nets through this hole. A little bell would ring then when the net activated the bell if there was fishing in the net. So that was called the monk's fishing hole. And there's only a tiny little room. It's probably about 10 foot by 6 foot, something like that. It's only very, very small.
Did you investigate it during the day or at night?
Both, day and night. And on numerous occasions. Also, we didn't just get lucky straight away. It took time.
It's a beautiful part of the country, isn't it?
Absolutely gorgeous.
For those of you outside the country who might remember an old 1950s movie called The Quiet Man, I believe it was filmed in Cong, yeah?
A lot of it was filmed in Cong, yeah. The fake Pat Cohen bar, or the bar fight wasn't all that. It was all in Cong.
And is it Galway or is it Mayo? I think it's somewhere in between, or where is it?
It's actually in Mayo. The border is right just before you get to the castle there, Ashford Castle. The Galway-Mayo border is there, so you're actually in Mayo once you get to Cong.
When you heard the EVP, did you hear it in situ on the spot, or was it later on when you were listening post-production?
Later on, when I went home that night, I got home around 3 a.m. or something, and I just couldn't sleep because our cameras have been very busy. We got a lot of camera footage there that we were really impressed with, and I decided I'd play back some of the recordings, and I was just amazed. I was actually lying in bed, and I nearly fell out of the bed when I heard this.
Is Ronan in danger? Is that in danger?
And I had to share it immediately with a medium that I know. She used to work with us, a girl from Tuam, Carmel, Conway, and she could not believe it neither. It was so good, and it's probably one of the best ever.
Can I echo? I think it's the best one. It's the best one I ever heard. We had you might listen back at some stage. I included it thanks to your good sidekick, Mr. Costello. Yeah. Philip, a great guy. He does a mean Elvis impression as well, I'm told.
He does.
But anyway, it was he originally shared it, and we had it on the show. And I have to say, it was the penultimate EVP because I don't know about you, I just felt I was listening to something medieval.
Yeah, Yeah. It's chilling. It's actually chilling and frightening.
It is in one sense, but I got something else out of it. I use this word a lot, but I listened to it forensically on very expensive, high performance headphones. Right. And I actually, hang on, before I say me, what did you get out of that? What did you think it was?
I actually believe it was demonic because it was directed at me. I was actually using a pendulum at the time and I was asking questions. I was asking the spirit world questions and I was using a pendulum. So I was getting my yes and no answers from the pendulum. But in the middle of it all, this laugh cuts through. So what it is, it's a demon laughing at the fool with the pendulum. That's what's going on there.
Really?
That's what I got out of it anyway. I was the laugh.
You see, my interpretation is obviously flawed, and of course it would be, because straight away I'm prejudiced because I hear this thing monk, so I'm waiting for the monk, right? And when I hear the monk laughing, he has delivered. The only thing I will say about it, as you say, it's a demon now. When I listened to it closely, I heard two voices in there. There's one very faintly in the background. It sounds female, an old female, right? And the gist I got out of it was when you'd said something, someone laughed. So of course I immediately thought a monk, But there's a co-laughter in there, if you like. It's like someone else is getting the joke. It's like a female is getting the joke and laughing in agreement with it. I'll play it here again. So we can all hear it, and people can make their own mind up. But I think you have a gem with that EVP.
One of the best I've ever got, anyway.
I mean, I've heard a lot. What they all have in common, I have to say, is I don't think, and you know yourself, the paranormal community in Ireland, I don't think there's any, as we'd say, chancers or tricksters as such. Well, I don't know. Maybe you do. You've been in the game a long time. I just know the people I end up dealing with, and they're salt of the earth, down to earth kind of folk, So I can't hold up any EVPs I've played on my show and say, I think this is false.
Okay.
Would your opinion of the general in the paranormal community in Ireland be roughly same, or?
Well, I'd say 99.9% of them would be 100% genuine and straight. I mean, what's the point if trying to make a fool of people if what you have is not genuine? Because it's really, really hard to get someone to accept true, genuine evidence without trying to make false statements and put up false stuff. Because people are not stupid. They will figure you out in the end. If you can't be true to yourself, you can't be true to anyone. So it's, as I say, it's hard to get people to accept what appears to be real, genuine evidence. No need to fake stuff. No need, because you either believe it or they don't. That's all there's to it,
So what did you record that EVP on?
That was actually caught on my body cam that I was wearing on my chest. Two other cameras running there, and they did not pick that up. It was my body cam that caught that EVP. There was two other static cameras there.
Okay.
I think one of those actually caught it, one of the static cams. But of all the other cameras that were there, none of them did. My body cam and the static cam. So I must have been quite near to the static cam.
Okay.
Because that one was actually behind me, and then my body cam on my chest. So those two were in close proximity to each other, whereas the others were scattered about the place,
There were other EVPs I heard from Paranormal Awakenings Ireland that stuck with me. Do you recall Lackeen Castle?
I most certainly do. Yes, I certainly do. I was actually going to suggest that, because I wasn't sure whether you'd heard it or not. That would probably be my number 2 at the time, but I've changed my mind since that, because recently I was in Wicklow, but that's another story. We got some fantastic EVPs there as well. So, but Lackeen is way up there with the best of them, I think. Yeah.
And just remind me, if you can remember it, what was said in the EVP?
Help me.
Help me. And just a brief history of Lackeen Castle.
Well, it was owned by the Kennedys, and apparently these Kennedys were also related to the President John F. Kennedy, or vice versa. They were the same Kennedys, because Lackeen Castle is in Tipperary, which is roughly where John F. Kennedy's people hailed from. So they were close connecting to those Kennedys. there's a puka there as well, so we don't actually know who's saying help me. Is it somebody trying to fool us, mock us? Or is it somebody genuinely seeking help? We don't know that.
Remind us again what a puka is.
A puka is a shape shifter. It takes the form of an animal. It can be a horse, it can be a goat, it can take any shape or form it likes. It comes across as a playful being, but it's actually very, very dangerous and cunning one. It's well known down through the years, long before there was ever any such thing as paranormal groups. The puka was spoken about in a lot of towns and a lot of counties. It's kind of a half fairy, half demon type thing. It's very, very hard to put him into a category, but they call him a shapeshifter because he can appear in any form at all.
Do you know if it's unique to Ireland, the puka?
I believe so, just like Dracula is associated out in East European. But I don't know of anybody who has ever seen a puka. I've just heard the talk of puka, but I've never actually seen one, and I don't know anybody who has.
Is it like an elemental, or it differs?
It would be different, because an elemental is definitely demonic, and it's associated with bad smells and all of that. The puka is more cunning, and I've never heard any talk about smells of them, but they're deadly dangerous. I think the puka probably could be associated with the fairy realm more so than mortal realm.
Okay. Isn't it funny we have a word unique to the Irish to describe a cunning person, but a cunning of a kind of evil nature? A sleveen.
Yeah. But I think every country is going to have something of that caliber. Every country who is into the paranormal or accepts in the good and the bad or heaven and hell, or each country is going to have its own unique, special one, whichever it's going to be. In our case, it's the puka.
Yeah. Do you know another EVP that comes to my mind, PJ?
Throw it at me.
Strongford Castle.
Right.
Do you remember that one?
There's a few there now. So you want to...
Well, there was a 4-lettered one.
Oh, F your kind. Yes.
F your kind. Let's listen to it now.
Yes.
Okay, so that one was a harder one for me to decipher, but I did hear it once I listened to it. You know, I heard it in there. It was kind of really obscure, but it was definitely in there. Once you get the F word, the rest follows on.
It's very quick. That's the problem with that one. Very quick. And I have lost many a night's sleep over that particular one. What was he referring to? What was he saying? I think he was referring to us as paranormal investigators. If you're kind, you're referring to us, not the fact that we're Irish or black or white. It's because we were investigating and he didn't like it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be sensitive on your investigations with some of the characters you come across.
Well, the thing is, you're not aware of it when it happens. It's only when you play it back, because it's usually your equipment that catches this. It's very rare for a person, although I do know one who's no longer with us now. We used to hear them all the time. It's very rare for an investigator to actually hear with his own ears what's happening. Only later checking his stuff that he finds out what he's got.
That makes it all the more authentic. Because if you were screaming and roaring like certain TV programs, you know, in situ when the thing is going on, you know, it just comes across as contrived.
Actually, it does. And you know what? It makes it very, very hard for genuine investigators out there to be given any credit at all for what they do. You know, people think we're all in the same boat. It's all a load of, and we're making it up.
So are you in Galway at the moment?
I am. I'm at home. Yep.
What's it like outside there? Do you see that big old moon that was out there tonight?
A lovely shiny moon out there, yeah. It could be a bit of frost coming because the sky is very, very clear.
Yeah.
I love where I am. I love Galway. I love Ireland in general.
Describe Galway to anyone who hasn't been there, because I think it is something special.
Well, it is. For people who like to go at night time, there's plenty of places to go. There's plenty of entertainment. There's plenty of sights to see during the day for those who like to walk about. There's places to go by coach, hire a car. If you don't have a car, go a few miles out the road. There's loads to see. As I say, Cong, Mayo border is only 20 miles away. You have Ashford Castle. You have the cliffs Of Moher, not too far from us, you have Alwee Cave. There is loads to do. But those are on the borders of Galway and Clare. In Galway itself, there's not so much apart from nightlife, really. That's all you have in Galway. But it's a busy, busy hub. And it's actually getting too busy now. It's getting spoiled.
Like a lot of the country, I think it's not what it used to be. But when I used to go across as a child, like in 1975, and you'd go there to what's the square in the centre of Galway? Eire Square.
Eire Square, that's the one.
And there's pictures of me sitting on that cannon. You know, the cannons.
They were removed. Now they're gone up to City Hall, up to the council. That's where they are now.
They're gone. Well, the other one now that I used to impose upon was Pádraig Conrad's knee. I'd sit a picture of me.
Also gone.
Is he gone?
He's gone to the museum. Yeah, he's gone to the museum. They put a replica of him there because apparently the poor Pádraig's original statue was vandalised one night. His head was taken off him.
Oh my God! He was a poet.
Also Bill Dove.
Which translates to my little black ass.
Well, yeah, you can say that, but I say donkey.
Mossel Beog Dove, that's right. And he had the dudeen, which was a little pipe, wasn't it?
The pipe, yeah, the clay pipe, yeah.
Clay pipe, the dudeen. Yeah.
A lot of people can still find butts of those clay pipes now along the beaches to this very day.
Do you know something? I grew up in Dublin, and digging in the garden, I'd find bits of those. So they were obviously just everyone had them.
Everyone had them, yeah. Sure, they were only, I think, about a halfpenny or a penny. That's what they used to cost at the time. Very, very little. But I suppose halfpennies and pennies were hard to come by back in that time.
Well, that's true. Have dudeen will travel.
Have dudeen will travel.
Have dudeen will travel.
But come here till I tell you, I think the atmosphere between Mayo and Galway, I find at times, well, there's two types of atmosphere I feel from Galway. One is the very ancient, almost like that kind of lore kind of atmosphere, the mythical. That's the word I'm looking for. And the other one I come across is a sadness.
Yeah, you have that too. But there's also a terrible animosity between Galwegians and the Mayo people.
Really?
All over football.
Over football, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They hate each other when it comes to the football.
So what I get off it is maybe a sense of the famine, PJ.
Yeah, a lot of people died, both Mayo and Galway, during those years, the famine years. And a lot of it was unnecessary because there was food here, only it was been shipped out.
Yeah. So it was like...
Shipped out of the country, So
it was like a manufactured famine, was it?
It was actually manufactured. A man called Trevelyan had a lot to do with that.
Trevelyan's corn, yeah?
That's the one, yeah. We're on the same.
So a
lot of people died.
Yeah. I mean, so you're talking not so much a famine as a genocide almost.
That would be nearer the truth.
Yeah.
That would be nearer the truth, yeah. There were actually some very rich landlords who had tenants living on their land and their property, and they allowed the tenants to starve outside their gates while they were having massive parties for their buddies inside. People were actually outside their gates starving as landlords partied. And it was terrible what was going on. Yeah, horrific, yeah.
But, on the flip side, and they would be rare, you had the good landlord as well. I think I was reading about one in Letterfrack where the people almost loved them, and built a community around them. And these landlords were so benevolent. I think they were Quakers by nature, this particular family.
They weren't actually what you call a true Brit, for want of a better word, But you could count the good guys, I'd say, on one hand, really.
Uh-huh. We don't mean to be derogatory, but speaking about Brits, I believe you visited Lord Haw-Haw's grave at night.
Yeah, I did, yeah. And again, not a true Brit, but there you go.
Germany calling, Germany calling, Germany calling.
And he was
just a parasite. That's what he was, a parasite.
Was he born in America originally? No?
He was, and he was reared here in Galway and in Connemara, and he spent some time in England, and he spent more time in Germany. He's more famous for the German side of it.
Yeah. And, people did a lot worse than him that got away with it, And I
certainly did. Only he couldn't keep his mouth shut. That's what happened to him in the end, He talked himself into a noose.
Was he shot by the IRA as a school kid or something? Or did he get in trouble with the RA?
They're saying that he was a messenger boy for the Black and Tans or the British people at the time, and the RA were definitely after him. Whether they ever caught up with him or not, I don't know. because there's some say yeah and some say no. But my head tells me if they had caught up with him, that the Brits would never have hung him, because the Brits would never have got him. He would have been dealt with long before he ever went to England, you know. But he was only a schoolboy back then, and the story goes he was carrying messages to and fro to the British police and the Black and Tans at the time.
Wow.
So he had to leave Ireland in a hurry. He had to leave.
And then he became a 360 and became a Nazi. Then he did a 360.
That's right, yeah. And but let's start with England now. He got caught up with Mosley and his crowd, and he got his face badly cut up there at a riot one time.
He got a slash hook, I think, to the face.
Well, he got cut from his lip to his ear, I believe. I believe it was very bad. And then when he was eventually tried and hung in England, that scar is supposed to have cracked open.
That's right.
While he was hanging.
When he dropped, yeah.
You know, yeah. So anyway, I had no time for the man. And I made that quite clear from up at his grave. I made it quite clear to him I had no time for him.
And did he respond?
Not really as such, but all our equipment started playing up on us. So we couldn't explain it. So I'm going to go back another time, maybe sometime on a nice summer night or something like that, and do it, because it was a bit wintry the night I went up there, and nothing went according to plan for us that night. But he didn't tell me to shut up or get out.
Get out!
Or
yeah.
Tell me to piss off or any of that, you know. So. But I will try again. I'll try again. I always like to give everything a fair chance. You know, even if I'm investigating a place, just because I don't get lucky once doesn't put me off. I'll go back again, because it's a bit like fishing, you know. Sometimes they're just not biting. It doesn't happen. And other times, you're a lucky man, you know. Okay, well, we'll leave Lord Haw-Haw in his grave. And I want to ask you about these investigations.
Right. Do you ever feel drawn to any particular location?
Oh, certainly. It happens to me all the time, because I don't know. I feel drawn. I'm like a magnet. When I go to a location, I know before I even get out of my car that there's something going to go on here tonight, or there's not. I just know it. I feel it. I get this tingling all over my body. The hairs on my arms stand up, and you can actually hear it's like a static electricity. And I know that there's stuff going on here. Now, whether I catch it or not is a different matter. But I know that there's stuff going on straight away.
So you get a vibe?
I most certainly do, yeah. I most certainly do. And I have much hair left now, but the bit I have, it stands up. And as I say, my ears start making noises as well. I get a whooshing in my ears, and I get electricity down my arms. I can feel it. It's like static electricity. So you're like a human divining rod? Well, I wouldn't go as far as that, but I certainly feel stuff. I certainly feel it, and I can't explain it. So
PJ could be driving along on the road, and nothing's happening.
Yep.
But next minute, bingo.
That's it, and that can happen when I'm driving by any place or approaching a place. That can happen.
And even if the place isn't notorious or whatever, you will find something in...
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct, yeah. Or I can walk into a person's house. I can walk into a public place, and if it happens, it happens. I actually feel this tingling in my body, and I know. Wow. I know it's not of this world. So is it like you're picking up a frequency, PJ? That's exactly what it would be, is a frequency, yeah. Or an energy, one or the other, yep. That's a gift. That's a gift. Mediums would be able to describe that better now. Don't know, is it a gift or a curse, to be honest? Sometimes it's not very pleasant, you know. Isn't that so true? Because I had a lady on the show, and she's a medium, Rhonda Hale, and I said the same thing to Rhonda. I said, you know, you could walk by somebody and you get a vision of them engaged in something not particularly, you know, moral or attractive or downright evil, you know? They can, yeah. And so it's a curse in that respect, you know? Yeah. I just know I'm very sensitive to this anyway. Well, I know... And I've no scientific explanation for it. I'm not even going to attempt to explain it because I couldn't. Well, try and attempt to explain this to me, because I've had plenty of investigators since I started Scary Eire, and yet you're the only one that seems to have picked up on and openly acknowledged the demonic aspect. Is that me getting it wrong, or you were open to it, whereas a lot they skirt around for the more traditionally diddly-diddle, somebody coming out
you know, and yet when you spoke about, say, the monks' fishing hut,
At Cong, yeah.
you know, you got a demon there.
Yeah, but you see, that demon may or may not be related to the Abbey of Cong. That demon is probably there long before there was ever an abbey there. Plus, that particular site, exactly where we were, above the monk's fishing hole, was actually a monk murdered there on that spot by another monk. We don't know why, but there was some argument over something, and one monk killed the other, and he actually pushed his remains down through that hole, and he floated away, way off down the river. That was the end of him. So, you know, just because it was a holy place doesn't mean that there won't be demons there.
When you say a holy place, so that would be in the Christian sense?
In the Christian sense, religious sense, yeah.
I always default to Christianity, I have to say, even though I'm one of these kind of almost sitting on the fence. I suppose it's because it's how we're brought up, you know. I just default.
Exactly, yeah. So you didn't have to be whatever religion you are.
Yeah, of course.
That's indoctrinated into you by your parents or your school or whatever clergy, whatever faith you happen to belong to. It's instilled in you. You don't ask for it. Before we ever had Christians here, we had pagans. We had all kinds of things going on here until St. Patrick came along and he Christianized the country. But he killed a lot of pagans, or he was the cause of pagans being killed, who instilled Christianity. And you know, people don't like to hear that, but this is what happened. And the Druids. We had the Druids.
Oh, the Druids.
Long before we ever had Christians, you know. So a lot of this demonic stuff could go back that far and even further, you know. We're only new kids on the block here, us Christians.
Yeah. The Druids fascinate me. They were kind of priestly in nature.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And they were here long before we ever heard of St. Patrick or anybody. St. Patrick did away with them in the end, you know.
Yeah.
And I reckon that when they say that St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland, it's referring to the Druids and the pagans. Because there was never a snake in Ireland, compared what we have in the Dáil, you know. And they'll always be here, unfortunately. We'll always have those guys.
The Dáil is our parliament, for those of you outside the country, by the way, folks. We won't go there. I want to stay on. We'll stay on the paranormal.
Yeah, we could get lost. We could get lost in that conversation now. We
could get lost. We were talking about Druids and Christians. Now let's talk about people who believe in the paranormal and who don't, the skeptics. Did you start out a skeptic?
I most certainly did.
Do you know what, PJ? I get this buzzword all the time called para-unity, and indeed we did a little piece on it there recently. Have you any views on para-unity? I hear a laugh there.
Yeah. I have never experienced para-unity in Ireland myself, personally, no. Apart from with one other group, Amanda's no longer with us now. There's a good friend of mine, poor PJ Kavanagh.
Yes.
And maybe one or two others. The rest of them, they watch your page, they follow your page, they see what you're doing, but they'll never give you a thumbs up or say, hi, hey, that was very good. You don't get any of that. You get no encouragement whatsoever. So for me, para-unity is just a word that somebody made up.
By the way, PJ, for those who don't know, what is para, you know, in layman's terms, what's para-unity? Because I'm still trying to get my head around it.
Well, it should be, in layman's terms, like a union, a workers' union, where we're all together and all at the same, looking for the same goal, to get on, to get evidence, and help each other any way we can. But that doesn't happen. That's a lovely idea, but unfortunately, it doesn't happen. If anything, a lot of the groups, they're pulling here out of each other. They actually get jealous of people's work. They don't praise their work. They don't help them. And there's only really a few now. And there's an awful lot of groups in this country, but there's only a few who will lend a hand and try and help you and give you a bit of praise. And so your work is very good.
I'm very late to the paranormal party, as you know, we've spoken before, and you know, this whole thing was driven by an experience I had as a child growing up in a military barracks. And what I'd say though is, I've come to it late in the day. And I hear para-unity, and I think it's give everyone a go. This is what it's about. It's all love and brown rice. But I think it's almost like a kind of, without getting, say, political or whatever, but you often hear diversity is our strength, you know? And I think when you diversify the paranormal and bring everybody and his mother in, some with very genuine levels of commitment to the subject, and others with very pedestrian, right? So you're trying to accommodate everybody because it's all kumbaya. And what happens is you end up going for the lowest standard of understanding of the entire paranormal. Whereas I talk to people like you or people like Cork Supernatural Society or Puka Vogue, and they're very professional setups. They're very methodical as to how they go about their investigations. They come from a really good place as well. They're not looking for, ghosts jumping out at them and screaming and roaring and getting hysterical about things, so it's a good weekend away kind of thing. And from what my understanding of para-unity is it's not particularly something now. I think it's like you risk diluting a really good investigation by trying to accommodate everybody. And as you know, certain people have levels of commitment and others, it's a hobby.
Well, that is so, but also to others, they go out more to mock you rather than help what you're doing. And that's fine too, if you know that from the off, because we can just say, okay, you're a skeptic. That's what I would call them. You're a skeptic. Be a skeptic. Yeah. But don't get in the way of what we're trying to do.
It's a good way of putting it. Getting in the way. That's what I was trying to say in that big flowery statement I just made. People get in the way, and you don't want to be rude to people and tell them where to go and how to get there. But they get in the way. It's I know you mightn't have even realised what you just said, but I think to me, para-unity, you're getting in the way of serious investigators,
That you may or may not get something or have something for your day or your night, whatever the case may be. But at the end of it all, you're genuine about what you're doing, and you're only hoping you get something. And you don't always get it,
Of course.
But now and again, as we can easily prove, we do have some measure of success.
Yes. Can I double back on something really quickly? And it's one or two names I want to throw at you. Now, I may pronounce this wrong. Is it Rosserley Monastery? Rosserley. Rosserley Monastery.
Yeah. Also, a little clip of that in the John Wayne movie you spoke about earlier on.
All right.
You see them riding past there on their little jaunting cart. Oh. But what's his name? Barry Fitzgerald.
Listen, you were there one night, if I remember Philip telling me, and all hell broke loose.
Yes.
Describe what happened.
Yes. Well, I'd have to start first. We're there, myself, Phil, and one or two other people who were never with us before, actually. You only come out, if you like, for the crack to see what we get up to and how we go about it. And we had a camera that we use from time to time, SLS camera. Are you familiar with the SLS camera?
No.
Yeah, it's a camera that, if it catches anything, it shows it in the form of a stick man.
Oh, right. I know them. Yes.
Doesn't show a complete body, just a stick man or a stick person. But it works on the basis of, it fires out thousands and thousands of little lights that are invisible to the eye. Mm-hmm. And if it sees something, that the pattern of lights are broken up and it comes back in this stickman figure, let it be a cat, a dog, or a person. Mm-hmm. But it's only a stickman figure. But this one night we were there with these guys who had never been out in an event with us before, or any other team come to that. And one of them was actually an Asian guy. I don't know, was he Indian or Pakistani, but he was of that culture anyway. And the other guy was a Galwegian. And as I said, they'd never seen anything like this before. But I put on the SLS and I'm spinning it around nice and slowly, and I get this hit. And Phil is stood behind me with his camera, trying to keep the SLS camera in shot. So whatever comes up on the SLS screen, he can get on his camera. Are you getting the picture?
Mm-hmm.
And just for once, we actually get a real figure on the screen of the SLS camera, which was never ever designed to do. It was designed to show you stuff in stickman figure. And I have to say, for me, it was a first. And I've had people from America and all over the globe onto me about it. They've never seen it before either. It's never happened before. Or since, because I've gone back on a couple of occasions trying to repeat it, and I just can't do it.
And did one of the party leg it out of the place?
No. I don't know where that came from. Philip would be talking about another place we're in. Back in our early days, we're down in the basement of a place called Tyrone House, and there were stones thrown at us. And I had brought a cameraman, an expert cameraman, to come and film what we're doing.
Yes.
And he'd been out with us on a couple of occasions, but they were quiet nights and nothing happened. But this one particular night, and I have to say, before I start, it was his last night. He never came back. We were pelted with stones. Yeah, pelted with stones, and eventually it stopped. And after about 20 minutes or so, we're getting ready to go home, and we round off the night usually with a couple of prayers before we leave, because we don't want to be bringing anything back with us. So whatever is there, we'd like it to stay there and let us go home nice and peacefully on our own. That's the idea of saying a couple of prayers.
Good.
But before we said the prayer, Phil got into his head that he'd like a repeat performance of this stone throwing episode. And he'd only said it, if you just do it one more time for us, please.
Yeah.
Just once more.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, bang.
Wallop.
Next thing, the poor cameraman started roaring and screaming and crying. And he says, no, I've enough, out. He did get out, and he never came back to us, ever.
He's probably still running, PJ.
No, I've met him a few times since. He's done other work for me, but only putting clips together for me that I filmed myself. He wouldn't come with us ever again. No.
Yeah. And tell me, a palace castle.
Yeah, I was only there now once,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not so long ago. That was just over a year ago. It's just about. It was a daytime visit, but I am going back there on a nighttime visit with a crew when I can get a crew together, which is not very hard or easy to do now. It's very hard to get people who are serious about coming out with you. They're all expecting to get frights and expecting what to see on the TV when they're watching these paranormal shows. It's not like that. It can be very boring. It can be very long, wet, cold night, and nothing to show for it. But then there's other times it just all comes together for you, and there's no end to it. There's no stopping it. You just don't know when.
I have said this numerous times to people. If you go within those environs, whether something screams at you, manifests, jumps out at you or not, the fact is you're in the middle of history.
You are.
And, like for instance, I was out in a place called, it's not far from where I am now, but Monkstown Castle one night.
Right.
Just down there around between Blackrock and Dunleary. I saw nothing. I was just there with a mate. But what I did was I felt the history all around me.
Yeah.
It's the same. Yeah. There's a little place within walking distance right here. It's called Merrion Graveyard. And there was wrecks of ships that, hundreds of sailors were drowned in around the early century, I think, something around that. So 1801-ish, thereabouts. This is a small little plot of land. There is a tombstone to those sailors, but there's, this thing, I think it could be close to 1,000 years old. Some of those graveyards are just, ancient. And you don't have to see a ghost. You don't have to see or experience a poltergeist or anything. It's just take the time to be. And as whatever antenna you had and you referred to earlier that picks up, I just pick up on the history. I said, if nothing happens to me, it doesn't matter. Something happened. If I had a camera that could just go back in time and see the people that have stood in front of these tombstones and that are lying under them, it's there. It's like well,
believe it or not, that is paranormal. That's a paranormal feeling you're getting.
Yeah, normal.
You're feeling an energy from the area that you're in. That is an energy that area is giving off, whatever it may be. You don't have to see Dracula or Frankenstein. You don't have to have any of that. Once you're feeling it, there's an energy there. Somebody like me or somebody else could be there and have a completely different experience, but we would be looking for a different experience.
When you're
quite happy feeling that good energy.
Totally. And when you say experience as well, so just very quickly, so you set out an investigation. What's the typical procedure that you have?
Well, I ground myself first before I go anywhere. Anybody who knows anything at all about paranormal work will know that, or anybody that does into mediumship. You ground yourself. First of all, it's like tuning your antenna.
Okay.
And second of all, it's a good safety measure. It helps stop you from bringing anything bad with you, because sometimes if you come across a very bad demon or spirit, you can get what's called an attachment, where this spirit can actually attach itself to you and you're stuck with it. And there's only one way you're going to get shot at that, and that is you have to go and see a medium who knows how to deal with these things, and they can have that attachment removed. Now, failing that, if you don't realize you have an attachment, it can cause all kinds of hazards or havoc to you. It can make you sick. It can make you depressed. It can make you do things to people that you wouldn't normally do, bad things, evil things.
Do you know?
And eventually it can actually kill you.
Did Philip ever share with you that at one point, I'm not sure where it was, he was overcome by a real evil feeling?
Yes, he did, and that was in Tyrone House. I was there when it happened. I actually have a little video clip of it somewhere. I could take it out.
When he described it to me, he said, I was looking at someone or something, and he said, I felt I wanted to kill them, or I was angry.
Yeah.
He was angry.
Yeah.
It's coming back to me now. I think he felt an animosity towards somebody because he
in
felt...
the group, yeah.
Oh, really? Was it in the group? Because he felt...
In the group, yeah.
He may have felt that they had inflicted pain on somebody else years ago or something like this. It was like he picked up on somebody that was in the environment. Now, I know it might have been directed towards a member of the group, but it was... When he was describing it to me, it was like he picked up on somebody that had been there and was a perpetrator of really nasty things. I think it was to young women. And he basically wanted to kill them. But it passed. Anyway, this feeling passed.
Yeah. What happened was Phil became possessed by a spirit that was there, a bad spirit. And he focused his attention on one of the guys who was in the group, but he wasn't seeing the guy as that guy was. He was seeing that guy as somebody from the past.
Yes.
That's what was happening. And it wasn't nice. As I say, I have a little clip of it somewhere. I might dig it out sometime and send it on to you personally. Yeah. You can actually see the change coming over Phil.
Yeah, he said that. He said that to
features,
me.
Everything changed. Yeah, everything changed. But it was very brief. It was only for a minute or so. But it happened, and we caught it.
Could I just change tact and speak to you man to man about stuff? Because I know you've lost a lot of people in your life. And in a relatively short space of time, you've had really poor luck. And indeed, I've lost people as well. I'll just say, for what it's worth, I think people stay with you. The memory of those people stay with you. The energy, the shared laughter and times. So I know you might be feeling really, people say time heals. I'm not sure about that. I think it gets easier.
It's just that you just learn to tolerate it. It doesn't change anything.
You learn to tolerate it. So therefore, it brings us to the subject of we need to talk about PJ Doog. Now, if I can just explain, a couple of episodes back, and in fact, in late August, I spoke with PJ, and was the first time. And there's all the PJs and paranormal. There's yourself. There's PJ down in Pukavogue, and then there was the late PJ Doog. And our commiserations, of course, and our heartfelt sympathies go to, is it Anne? I think.
And his wife,
his wife and his children, who were still relatively young people. And I spoke to this guy, and PJ, I kept thinking to myself, just like I'm talking to you, and I would extend the invitation, actually, now that we've had a bit of time together. But I was speaking to PJ down in Carlow, and I kept thinking, I'd love to go for, as we say here, a pint. I'd love to go for a drink with this guy. Because, I don't know, I tell you what, will you give, in your own words, how did you meet PJ Doog, and maybe give a little bit of a tribute to him? Because I take this show to PJ in its entirety.
Well, Mark, we could make an entire show talking about PJ just on his own. It would take more than a night, but I'll try and get it as much as I can into a minute or two for you.
Please.
My first time ever having anything to do with PJ was back in 2019, March of 2019. We were at the Hellfire Club in Dublin, on Pellier Hill, the top of Mount Pellier Hill. You'll know it, I'm sure.
I've been there, yeah.
Right. Well, we travelled down there in the car, myself and 3 other guys. We spent the whole shagging night in this Hellfire Club, and we weren't one bit impressed with what we got. We were disappointed, and we made a video saying so publicly, just outside of the club itself, live on Facebook. Then we packed up our gear and we started walking down that long walk down that hill in the pitch black of night down to the car. And we got into the car anyway after a while, and we opened up the phone, and next thing we see this comment from PJ Doog. Lads, you want to... No, not in exact words, but these are approximately as close to the truth as I can get. You're too full of yourselves. You need to pay more attention to what's going on around you, and don't be worrying about people out in Facebook land or worse to that effect. So one guy says to the other in the car, who the is this fella? Who does he think he is? Talking like that to us and blah, blah, blah. And I said, lads, I think he has a point. I think we were more worried about having a good show for the people on Facebook, and we didn't pay enough attention to what was going on around us. Yeah. So with that, we decided that we would head for Galway. But unfortunately, we couldn't because our car was inside in the car park and the barrier had closed.
Oh, I know it. I know the place. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, could
we
easily
were
happen.
stuck there.
Yeah.
We were stuck there for the night, well, until 7:30 in the morning when it opens automatically. But in the meantime, we looked at a few other of his comments, and I asked the lad not to be rude. I just give him thumbs up and say thanks, and we'll get back to him later on. So when I got back to Galway, I had a good sleep for myself because I'd been up all night the night before, and I'd driven to Dublin and back from Dublin, and I was absolutely goosed.
Mm.
So I started looking at some of the footage, and I couldn't believe what I had missed because I was too interested in putting on a good performance for the people out in Facebook land who might be watching.
Yeah.
I missed all that was going on around me. And again, it was my body cam, this body cam that I love so much. My body cam that caught this demonic noise interference on my camera, which I'll send you a recording of that, Mark.
Please.
And you can hear it.
Yeah.
It's never happened before. It's never happened since. And there was no other explanation for it, only it was pure demonic. And I got back to PJ and I played it for him. And he says, "No, lads," he said, "now do you believe me? Don't mind Facebook anymore. Keep your mind on the job.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time for praising yourselves when the job is done," and so on and so forth. And we kind of became pally that way. Now, that was March of 2019. In October of the same year, 2019, PJ invited me and my former group to go down to Duckett's Grove in Carlow, where he's from himself.
Yes. And
we travelled there. And that was the first time that I met the man in person. We spent hours there at Duckett's Grove. Had a great night there. A very successful night, evidence-wise. Myself and PJ then were best of friends. We were talking to each other, Jesus, every single day and every single evening. For sometimes hours. We just took to each other like ducks to the water. I met him again then in Finglas in Dublin. We went to a property there that was having poltergeist issues. I invited PJ to come with me with my new group, and we had a fantastic night there. The evidence was just something unreal. Then more recently, not long before he died, we went to Wicklow Jail, and you were talking about EVPs earlier on. We got some classic EVPs there, absolutely classic. The first time ever recorded by any paranormal team. Myself and PJ were lucky enough to get them that night. And within a few short weeks of that, the poor man was dead. And we had made plans to cover half of Ireland. We had so many places to go, see, and do stuff in, but it wasn't to be. He took sick at work one day, and within 8 or 9 days, he was gone. He was dead, poor fella.
I couldn't believe
it. A lovely man. A lovely man. A lovely man.
It was Anthony from Ghost Eire that let me know. And he said, that chap I'm talking to, and I, you know, because I really meant it, PJ. I meant it. I was like, I want to meet him.
A lovely guy, lovely guy.
Because, you know, there was a modesty about him, wasn't there? There was no, obviously you picked up on that with those very first messages. He was sound and he was modest and he wasn't given to the, you know, the histrionic. He wasn't given to the big sensational thing at all. In fact, it had all stemmed from, you might remember his original story. As a young married man, he was in a house and it was a relatively modern estate. And he ended up running out of the place. Yeah.
Now, he got a few scares in his lifetime, paranormal scares, you know, so he had nothing on your respect. And he tried to instill that in me. He taught me so much that I'd never know. That man has forgotten more than I'll ever learn. And he was very, very modest about it. It was so bad, he didn't even like the sound of his own voice.
That's right.
I had an awful job to get him to do that interview with you.
He sounded great. As do you.
And after it was done, he rang me up and he praised me and he thanked me. And who was to know that in a short little while later, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Well, I said to Anne, I said, you know, is it okay for me to use any recordings of him? And this, I said, and she was great. And she said, you know, this is all by text. And she said, no problem at all. And I said, well, if, you know, out of respect, though, it's still very raw. So I'll give it a show or two before we do anything. And I thought the perfect guy to give a tribute to him would be yourself, because I know you were close. It was you who introduced him to me. And he was a find, and I loved listening to him. And I said, I really, really regretted, you know, that I'd lost him so soon, because, you know, sometimes you just get a vibe off people. And I kept picturing standing in a pub with him, And just, you know what? He's very like, I've relatives down in Kildare. That kind of down to earth. There's no messing with them at all.
I have myself, believe it or not. I have myself. Myself and PJ had planned pints as well, but we never ever had a single pint together. Never.
Really?
It just wasn't to be. Yeah, we had planned. Yeah, even to come down this side of the country, spend a couple of weeks here, and we were going to go to numerous places, and it didn't happen. And the thing about him, I don't know, did he mention himself when he was speaking to you? He had this unique hearing. He could pick out sounds. Oh yeah, he had hearing like, I can't understand it. You could play a sound to him and he could pick out different sounds again. His hearing was really, really razor sharp, especially for EVPs now. His hearing could pick up a fly breaking wind 50 yards away. Yeah. His hearing was that acute, yeah. And he'd often pick up stuff in clips that I'd send him that I hadn't heard myself, and he'd boost them for me, and I still couldn't hear them. And he'd boost them up maybe by 5 or 10 times. And he was trying not to distort them by overboosting, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, totally. I'm an audio guy, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And eventually I would latch on to what he was after. But he could hear it first off. His hearing was just amazing. I've never met the likes, and I don't think I ever will again. He was a really special guy.
I saw a picture of him, and he just looked so healthy and young, and it was very, very attractive.
He was 10 years younger than myself. I was the daddy of all the groups because I'm 66 now, Mark.
Well, sure, there's not much between us. Yeah. I'm 62.
No. So I'll be hanging up my guns now shortly, I'd say.
Will you?
I don't know how much longer I can keep going, especially out in rough terrain anyway, stuff like that. I won't be able for that, you know.
That's true. I mean, I'm looking at guys.
Some places we go to are very dangerous, you know, really. So.
Oh, I'd well believe it. You'd slip.
We'll see. And it's nearly always nighttime, but it doesn't have to be nighttime. It can be daytime as well. The spirit doesn't care what time it is. He's not interested in day or night. If he's there, he's there. Simple as that.
PJ, obviously giving our other PJ, our late PJ, his place as well. Thanks so much for taking time out of your evening to talk to ourselves here on Scary Eire. PJ Kavanagh of Paranormal Awakenings Ireland. Cheers.
All the best, Mark. Thanks.
Mark Manning.
My thanks to PJ Kavanagh of Paranormal Awakenings Ireland. Just Google that name for all his socials and you can get in touch with him and check out his many fantastic investigations around Ireland. Now, earlier I mentioned that Anne, PJ Doog's wife, had kindly given me her permission that I could use a previously on-broadcast section of interview with the late PJ Doog. If you stay tuned after these messages, you will hear it. It concerns a dark night in Kilkenny, when all hell broke loose in a paranormal sense. Kinda. Stay tuned.
Yeah, a couple of things over the years, but I've learned... Well, I suppose it's not learned. I've just become accustomed to it, and I think it's kind of, it's maybe it's another sense or something. But often when you go into places, you'll get a feeling for the place, and you'll get a feeling of whether or not it's comfortable. And whatever causes that, who knows what causes that? But we have an intuition, we have an inbuilt intuition. I can't describe what it is or where it comes from, or the physics of it or the chemistry of it, but it's there, and anybody will tell you to stick with your intuition. If you think something doesn't feel right, then don't hang around.
Superb advice from regular contributor to Scary Eire, David McGlynn, aka The Squire. And don't hang around either. If you've got an Irish paranormal tale to tell, simply email paranormalireland@protonmail.com and it'll be read out for you. Or you get to tell it on air yourself. That's paranormalireland@protonmail.com.
Hello, Scary Eire listeners. My name is Anthony Kerrigan, and I'm a member of a paranormal psychical research team called Ghost Eire. You can catch up on where we've been, also see what we've got up in the future by logging in to our website, www.ghosteire.net. You can also watch shows of the Ghost Eire channel, where we interview numerous people in the field of the paranormal and Fortina. You can also check us on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube by just typing in Ghost Eire or Ghost Eire Paranormal. You can also watch our new show, Phantasm Collective, on channels such as Prime UK, and also Paraflix and other streaming services to be announced. I just got to deal with this ghost now. Get out! Get out!
Hi, Jenny Sullivan here. I am the creator and founder of Emerald Isle Paranormal Researchers. You can find our latest investigation of the beautiful and infamous Leap Castle. You can find that on our YouTube page and our Facebook page.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and listen to the late and very great, in fact brilliant, PJ Doog, paranormal investigator extraordinaire.
Here's a security story for you. Okay,
I was going to ask you that. You must have seen stuff in your job. Go for it.
I remember I was working for a company down in Kilkenny, and literally it was patrol. So you had 20 locations that you would have to visit on the night. But because I took up employment with this company, I had to have a guy that trained me in to sort of get to know the codes, the onset, the alarms and everything else. The employer turned around and says, look, we're going to give you one of our more experienced guys. And you're sort of saying to yourself, I'm not already experienced. But the thing about it is you're not from that county, so you're not familiar with the system, you're not familiar with the road system or anything else as such, and where these locations are situated. Google Maps becomes absolutely fantastic when you're first doing night patrols for a new company. But I found this very unusual, what my instructor was telling me. He turned around and said to me, we're going to visit 20 locations tonight within 12 hours. And tell me which one you get a vibe about. And I thought, it's a bit strange. Why would he ask me that? Okay?
Yeah.
Literally, we started out and we were about 4 hours in, and we came to one certain location. Now, straightforward, it had a shop front to it, and there was a variation of extensions onto the back of it. Okay? And the first part of the structure, it was very modern. The second part started to decline a little, okay?
Yep.
As you got down into the third section of it, you began to realise this build was getting older as you were progressing down through the building. And once you got to the end of it, you were sort of like a bit creeped out. It was something just didn't sit right with you. But I didn't express that to him, and he didn't ask me. We just went on, and through that whole night until we finished, and he turns around and he says, well, what building did you get a vibe about? And I sort of brought him back to that building I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And he says, okay. He says, tomorrow night you're on your own. He says, hold it. You're to do the next 2 nights with me as well. He says, no, I'm finished after tonight. I have enough. There's like, what's going on here? You know, sort of way. And he says, you'll find out, okay? So the next night I went, okay, I'm captain of my own ship now, went along. It came to this building, and there was 3 checks on this building. The first checker was 9 o'clock, the second checker was 12 o'clock, the third checker was 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And the first checker was grand, you know, went through it, this, that, and the other. You were still a bit conscious of sort of how it sort of became more eerie as you went down through it, and there was very little lighting as you were going down through it, so you were dependent on your torch and so on, which gave it that more creep factor. I remember the 3 o'clock check and coming up to it, right? I unset the alarm, go into the front part, go through the second part, and at this point I'm a bit anxious, and I'm saying to myself, what am I anxious for? You know, am I working myself up into a state of anxiety?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, this building, it's sort of coming in on you in source because it's so dark going down through it. And I thought to myself, nah, shake yourself, just get out of it. And I wouldn't mind doing it. And I investigated paranormal. And still I was getting creeped out about this building. So as I was coming back up through it and everything else, I came back into the more modern section, and I was sort of looking at what they had on their display and this, that, and the other. Oh. And as I was just about to enter through the second door to go out through the main door and set the alarm, old man's voice turns around and says, "Hello there." And I froze to the spot. Honestly, I froze to the spot. I said, "That's not possible." You know?
It's just a disembodied voice. Like,
yes, just straight out.
Hello there.
Cheers there. Hello there.
Friend.
And
Do that again. Do that again. Say it. Say it.
Right.
No. Say the hello there the way you said it.
Hello there. And it was really gentle, there was nothing aggressive about it or anything else.
Yeah, love it. Hello.
And yeah, I stuck to the spot and I thought to myself, hold it. The alarm was set when I came in. I unset that alarm. I checked the first section first. There was nobody in it. From office to office to office. I went down through every section I went down. I checked. There was nobody in this building. And as I turned around, because you know what the rule of security is?
Go for it. Go on.
You still have to do the job regardless.
Of course. Carry on regardless.
Yeah, carry on regardless. And I remember sort of shaking myself together and going, I have to check. And I shone the torch all around that area. And I knew exactly where the voice had come from. And I shone it over to the main counter. And I went over, looked behind the counter. There was nobody there. There was no intercom. I was looking around to see was there an intercom on, located on the wall anywhere. Was I being watched by the employer and he just decided to play a nice one on me? No, not the sort. There was only one security camera in there and it didn't even have sound on it. It was just picture only. And because I inquired, believe me. So I remember walking out, setting the alarm, sitting in the van and kept looking at it. And I went, I have to come here tomorrow night. So the following night, enter through, and I'm still conscious of what happened the previous night. And I go through it, and as I got down to the bottom, it was like something came alive inside there. And it was like banging. I could hear, for a better word, disembodied voices. It was nobody, because the further you went back into this building, I could tell you the name of the building, but I can't because it's a commercial property. Yes. But off the record someday, if I'm never talking to you again, I'll tell you. Here, it just started to go crazy. And I just turned around and went, like this. I know we're here. Straight up, set the alarm, got into the van, rang my boss, right?
Yeah.
And I said, excuse me, has there been any reports from any other security guard about this location? And he turns around and he says, yeah, some of them feel very uneasy about that location. I said, really? Yeah. I said, did they bring you any proof or anything? I know, we won't go down that line. You see, they won't admit or tell you that there's a possible hop maybe going on in there. And due to the sort of validations of our other security guards over the years visiting that spot and had experiences, I said to myself, the best thing to do, right, I'll bring another security guard with me on the night. And I asked a friend of mine that literally was working another location and it was his night off, would he come along with me? And I says, I'll take the blunt of it if anything happens, because literally he wasn't insured to be on the van with me. But still, I wanted his confirmation, okay?
Yeah.
And I knew he was the greatest skeptic I ever came across, okay? So I said to myself, lovely, I have a skeptic here, and I just want validation. If anything happens down here, basically, it's for him to say that he could turn around and say, what the hell is going on, or so on, or maybe nothing will happen. Because sometimes that's what happens. When you're trying to prove something, it doesn't happen. We both go in, Ion said, he was familiar with the property from a visual view. So he says, yeah, I know that place well, it's been here a long time. I said, grand. I said, no, I'm not from Kilkenny or anything else, but I just need you to back me up and something. No, I wasn't saying to him what had happened the night before, because I just didn't want to sort of unnerve him or plan something in his head. So as we're walking down through the place, he says, yeah, it's a bit creepy. Yeah, it needs more lighting. He was sort of nearly rebuilding the place as he was going down through it. And as we were just hitting down on the last section of it, next minute, it exploded. It was like there was voices all over the place and everything else. And he went, is there somebody in the place? Is there somebody? He went into what I call security guard mode. right, it's a threat. Somebody is either inside the building or they have got in, and now they've heard these security guards walking down and they're panicking, and there's spices all over the shop. And this is what he was beginning to think. Now, literally, he ran to every door and checked it, and there was chain, right? So then he thought maybe they're up on the roof. And I went, oh gosh, we're doing the long stint here now. So he unlocks. He says, PJ, give me the keys. I'm going to unlock this and we're going out here. I said, okay, let's go on out here. And I certainly knew myself that it was a waste of time. But, I was going with what he wanted to do. So we went out through the back of it and shining the torches all across the roof. Not a sinner, okay? Went all across the yard, checked everything in the yard. Nothing. There was no entry into the yard. It wasn't possible for anybody to get into this yard. So he turns around and he says to me, what's going on? And I says, okay, I'll talk to you when we get back to the van. So as we came back into that section, it started all over again. So here we took out our phones. I says, look, we'll just do a bit of recording here as we're retreating out of this building. Okay, that was the best way I could put it to him. So as we're going out of the building and everything else, we're recording away. And as we get into the second section, it sort of dies off. And as we get into the first section, I'm still conscious of what I heard the previous night. Literally, that old man's voice. I was thinking to myself, will this happen again? Oh, please let it happen. This would be brilliant altogether. That way, it really confirmed. And it didn't. We set the alarm, go outside, and your man turns around and says to me, bring me home straight away. Okay? I said, right, that place is haunted. Now, this is a skeptic. And he never talked paranormal or anything else. So the next day I went into my boss and I said, look, I'll tell you the truth now. There's something going on in this one location. And he says, look, off the record, he says, look, we need the contract. We can not decline that contract. It's a big contract. I says, I understand that. So I says, look, there's something going on in there. And he started giving me a history of what the land was and everything else. And it sort of fell into place for me. But at the same time, every time I rolled up outside that, I wouldn't go into the third section of it. I'd only go into the first and second and said, the hell with the third section of it. Because that's when it really got out of hand. So that's my security guard story for you.
And I have to say, it's like a gripping one. I'm thinking to myself, the voices that you heard, so it was like this kerfuffle going on, disembodied voices. Was there, could you even identify, was it regional accents or was it just noises? Or how did that sound? I mean, the hair would have been standing up in your head, right?
It sounded like a party of 10 people all sort of talking at once in this one location and scattered. Like they were talking back and forth to one another, but literally it was like you were sort of Malcolm in the middle, sandwiched between all this. And there's a possibility that, and I always sort of thought about, was it a residual? Because what was the extent, the older part was a part of something else originally one time. It went back 100 years. So could this, because once again I come back to the sort of granite quartz, and is it a recording and it starts playing at a certain time and you're just unfortunate enough to be caught in that moment as you're going through?
Sure.
But the only thing I thought that was intelligent was the first voice I heard in the front section that went, hello there.
Hello. It's like a little sweet shop owner. I like him already. Yeah. Don't know who he is, but I'd love to hear him. Hello there.
Granted,
what would you like? Would you like to come and see the puppies?
That's basically it. And you were there going, that was a sweet voice, but it's on the scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah. Oh, listen, Kilkenny is so historic, and I say I hail from there, but that's about it. I was born there, but I didn't hang around very long.
Oh, there's a lot of history.
Yeah, there's a barracks down there, Stephen's Barracks, I think it is. We lived there for a while.
And that was that. PJ Doog, great guy, great friend to PJ Kavanagh and many more paranormal investigators. This entire show is dedicated to you and your wife, Anne, and your children, and your many, many friends. Rest in peace. Now then, if you like Scary Eire, please get in touch. Simply email paranormalireland@protonmail.com. If you're in the paranormal community, if you can like and subscribe and share, or if you're just a member of the public and you like it, share it around your socials, and it's the only way I can grow this here thing. So, from myself, Mark Manning, of Scary Eire, take care, 'cause I care.